Thanks for tuning in again through the Bible, through the series that we're doing here at Calvary St. Joe. I'm Chuck Rhein, and we find ourselves in the book of Micah today. And so for those of you that have spent time in the New Testament, I hope you're all familiar with Micah chapter 5, verse 2, which prophesies where Jesus, the Messiah, would be born. Micah is interesting, as a lot of, I find, the minor prophets are, in that there are a lot of different aspects to their prophecy. You can date the book of Micah about 700 BC. You've got Hosea, the first minor prophet, and he was prophesying to Israel in the north. You had Isaiah, and he was with the court in Jerusalem. But Micah, a Judean, is preaching to the people of Judah. And we begin in verse 1 of chapter 1, where the Lord describes his judgment that's coming against Israel and then Samaria and against Judah. And what's important to me, because I heard early on that you and I, according to the words of the Apostle Paul, are to inhale, to assimilate the whole counsel of God. You know, you'll hear people talk about, they have their favorite parts. They might say, the Gospels are this level of deep, but get into Jeremiah, and it's this level of deepness. And I don't agree with that. I believe that from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21, that there's something on every page about Jesus, that you can look for redemption. You can look at man's sin and God's plan and what he does as a result of man's sin. Therefore, we're to put our faith in him. And that's what takes me to Micah 5:2 in today's reading. And this is rich, okay? If you read with me in the New King James, it says, regarding the first coming of Jesus, verse 2, chapter 5, "But you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel." Here's the key: whose going forth have been from of old, from everlasting. And you can't speak of a regular person in the Bible other than Jesus Christ that is from everlasting. And that's significant. It's a messianic passage. But Bethlehem is significant. Beth, when we read that in the Bible, it means house of, and then you have to kind of figure out what the rest of the word means. Lehem means bread, but actually Ephrathah is the Old Testament name, if you will, for Bethlehem. And what both of these titles speak of is the fertility of the land, okay? So Bethlehem, house of bread. Ephrathah means fruitful. Bethlehem was the birthplace of King David. We read that in 1 Samuel 16:1. Of course, Jesus Christ. And then when it talks about the goings forth, it refers primarily to Christ's pre-incarnate appearances, his birth in Bethlehem, but from everlasting may mean from days of old, or it may mean from eternity, which would be the context I would choose. But here's the point. It is very difficult in this life to figure out where you are going to be born. And it's very difficult in this life to be able to plan out exactly where you're going to grow up as a child when we read these things about the life and times of Jesus Christ. It is very difficult to have somebody to fulfill Scripture just to betray you for 30 pieces of silver. We're going to read that when we get to the book of Zechariah, Lord willing. The point is that it's not only just difficult for these prophecies to happen, it's actually not possible. Okay, what we're talking about today is truth, and it spans thousands of years. Just as a final kind of a note, when you get religious people together, it is very difficult for them to agree, much less take people from 3 different continents over a period of between 1600 and 1700 years and have this messianic thread of redemption to flow from Genesis to Revelation. Only God can do that. And so as God writes and has written these love letters to his children, you and I have the responsibility to find out, what does he want? What does he say to me today? If he can prophesy about a average-looking Jewish man in the Middle East that's a carpenter's son and turn the world upside down, then what he has to say about me and about you is important. So dig into it, and we'll see you next time in the book of John.